frente a un mismo trabajo y capacidades, los hombres tienen una mejor remuneración, por ejemplo. O sea, la idea es llegar a una igualdad y ver cómo rompemos como ciertas estructuras.
Citizens of Latin America consists of Europeans, Africans, mestizos, and indigenous people, where not a single nation has a demographically homogeneous society. Because of that, providing equal citizenship and rights among these people became the biggest challenge this continent has faced. We can clearly see that the inhabitants of Latin America have struggled since the arrival of Columbus, European colonization process, installment of slavery, caudillo system, and so on. Inhabitants then began to dream about capturing freedom through independence to gain rights, but for some, things did not change. After independence, inhabitants were left to answer many questions. Should the Europeans, who were relatively dominant in the society, be in charge of moving the state? Even after the abolishment of slavery, should blacks be treated equally as others? Should women have rights outside the family? In this video, we will be focusing on comparing women's rights in the post-Columbus and the modern society. Alexander Dawson sees that Latin America as a whole prioritized issues associating with slavery rather than women's rights. Nations in Latin America became concerned with women's rights later in the 20th century, whereas slavery was abolished in the 1880s.
According to Susan Soklow, gender, race, and class function together. A woman's power depended on the position she had in the household. The wife of the head of the house had more power than an orphaned niece or a spinster aunt who lived under the same roof. Moreover, this was affected by where they lived. Cities or rural zones and the economy of the region too affected this. For example, elite women in 17th century Mexico lived lives of more opulence than elite women in poor regions like Santo Domingo. Spanish thinkers like Juan de la Sarda influenced how women were viewed. They were viewed as less intelligent or rational than men, and because they were believed to be foolish, they were expected to keep silent, and because they didn't have the mental capacity, it wasn't necessary to teach them how to write. Moreover, the people believed that women couldn't resist temptations and were easily susceptible to evil. Pop culture then stressed on how women were gossipy, emotional, and weak. Only by keeping them in their homes or under male guidance could women be protected from the evil.
Lack of women's rights in Mexico was an emblematic and sad reflection of the sign of the times. Author Donna Goodman shows a systematic enhancement of society's empathy for women's rights. Goodman correspondingly proves to readers how much women's rights have improved throughout the years in Latin America, specifically Mexico. She goes on to give examples of how women's rights have improved in Mexico. Literacy is 100% for women and men, and women are 65% of university graduates in Mexico. In the article, Goodman displays numerous evidences and facts with regards to how much women's rights have actually changed since the 1900s. Women in Mexico have won some important victories, such as implementing policy aimed at reducing sexual harassment of women in public. Other important measures include the granting of paternity leave, which will not only promote gender equality but will also aid in raising awareness of the need for men to participate in childcare. However, at the same time, there is an epidemic of rape and murder of young women. More than 600 women have been raped since 1993 in Ciudad Juarez. Domestic violence also claims the lives of 40 women a day in Mexico, but the law in 8 states does not consider domestic violence a crime, and 12 do not penalize rape in marriage. The underlying perception in Goodman's article was that the economically disadvantaged women are a drain on valuable resources because they are not an integral and effectively contributing part of developed society. Their needs as women and as apparent second-class citizens do not have to be met with any real sense of urgency or purpose.
Everyone claims that women's rights have improved. We see an improvement in the literacy rate, but there is a problem. Women are employed through their degree. In urban areas, 45% of women have households are headed by women who earn less than men for the same kind of job. Although women may enjoy the empowerment for their rights, not all of the issues are resolved, or mentions two important aspects that are not completely addressed: culture and economy. She mentions that the economic rights fall under the regulation of international and regional laws. The following points are the most important: the right to work in satisfactory conditions, equal remuneration regardless of gender, the right to form unions and to go on strike without the interference of their working conditions, the right for social security and social insurance, and freedom from economic exploitation. You may wonder, how are these rights guaranteed? It's certainly not an act of faith. Let's take a closer look to Mexico. According to Brickner, recognition of gender equity is primarily dependent on feminist activism and union leadership. Women's efforts to transform their unions into spaces that reflect and advocate for gender equity rights are critical to strengthening democratic citizenships in Mexico. The Mexican case that Brickner describes, they do so by getting involved in working unions to regulate the rights they are entitled as citizens and as workers. Let's remember for a brief moment what all Latin American countries have tried to achieve: peace. However, what is peace? We probably understand it as the lack of wars or violence between groups, or probably a freedom of disturbance. Well, Centeno proposes a new definition that goes beyond war or problems. He extends the definition to the ambit of equity in human rights between people, including women. The only way to achieve this new concept of peace is by creating agreements between men and women and educating society so that women can develop as a responsible and autonomous being who enjoy the same rights that men.